So, Danny,
Tyler, yes.
what we talking about tonight?
Tonight we're going to be leaving Kentucky.
Oh, we are?
Well, not us, but the listeners.
Oh, dang.
They'll be leaving Kentucky, and
I thought I was going to get dressed up.
here's the thing. I actually found the guy on a Kentucky, a Facebook group for Kentucky Sasquatch sightings. So tonight is all about our good friend Sasquatch. Here's the fun part. I thought that because the YouTube video link that came through, the guy who's going to be on tonight, I thought he was in Kentucky, but it turns out he is not. He's in North Carolina. And because of the format we wanted to go with, we wanted to primarily stay in Kentucky and whatnot. For tonight, we're going to be extending into our neighboring states a little bit. And I thought, well, we could go two different ways. One way we could go, hey, this isn't in Kentucky. Let's go ahead and cancel this and let's wait and let's find somebody in Kentucky. But then getting to think about it, it's like, hey, you know what? We got lots of people with this same topic, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, Yeti, here in Kentucky. But we also have in a neighboring state, we have someone with some amazing YouTube videos, encounters, evidence that he's found. And I thought, well, what the hell? Let's go on a field trip. Let's go on a field trip to North Carolina to talk to Mr. Lee Woods and talk to him about his YouTube channel, what he's seeing over there, what's going on, just let's get to the bottom of it with him. Let's hear his story, and then when we come back to Kentucky and talk about Sasquatch and Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, maybe we can find some similarities between what people are seeing here in Kentucky to what Mr. Lee is seeing over in North Carolina. That's just my idea.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the same way. I was thinking about it is maybe because they say that these animals they migrate, they don't stay in one spot so long. So hey,
that is true.
They're pretty close. So
it's interesting. I mean, you had this conversation. Was it this morning? Yeah, this morning when we were out and about. And we were talking about how coming into this topic and this research, I was actually brought into this research for this topic because of something else that had happened a long time ago. And I didn't seek out Sasquatch. I literally landed in Sasquatch, basically. The topic of Sasquatch, I landed in it. I can't say that I was a huge Bigfoot enthusiast, and I wasn't a Sasquatch enthusiast at all. I kind of 50-50. How'd you say it? I wasn't on the fence yet. I was leaning up against it.
Yeah, you didn't want to take that leap and say I believed in it or I didn't believe in it. But
Right.
You were at least on one side of the fence, though.
And even now, with the purpose of this podcast, I don't want to sit here and say that I 100% believe that there is a Sasquatch out there. I'm not going to say that. I don't want to influence anybody's opinions, even if it's by happenstance. All I'm going to say is I came into this leaning against the fence, like you said. But the more I read and the more I research, and I'm starting to notice little patterns to this, I'm beginning to suspect that people are seeing something. I don't know what, and I'm no expert, and I'm definitely not going to sit here and say that it's without a doubt the Sasquatch. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and say that these people aren't seeing what they're seeing. There's too many. There's just too many sightings. And I watched a video the other day that a man said something brilliant, and I thought, wow, I got to lock that one in. He said, there's hundreds of thousands of sightings and stories. It only takes one of them to be real. If you really think about that, you always, when you go into this subject, you always see things where it's like, oh God, everybody and their brother has seen Sasquatch and had dinner with him and had him over for Thanksgiving. You know, it's getting so old. You know, there's so many Sasquatch stories, but if you actually look at the actual statistics, it's not that many people. It's only a fraction of the population.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't everybody and their brother, and most of these guys don't want to talk about it. They don't want to reach out and say like, "Yeah, man, I saw something I can't explain," because they don't want to be ridiculed. They don't want to be a Sasquatcher or whatever it is, you know, you call it, a Sasquatch enthusiast or someone who claims to have seen Bigfoot. They don't want to be that for whatever reason, and that's fine. But there's quite a few that have reached out and they have stories. So you listener, whoever you may be, I ask you tonight, suspend your disbelief. And if you're an enthusiast, I want you to suspend your belief. Get in here in the middle of this with us. Let's sit on both sides of this.
Let's sit on the fence together.
Let's sit on the fence together and let's see for ourselves, is there an unknown primate that we simply don't understand yet? And are we ever going to? You know, there's so many pattern behaviors to it that's what's interesting to me. You know, Sasquatch apparently has migration pattern. It has behavioral patterns. Certain times a year you hear about certain types of sightings. You know, certain geographical locations seem to have significance. I've been recently looking at kind of a trend that I've seen where near water, for some reason, seems to be more aggressive. When people are on a boat or near water and they encounter one, for some reason it seems to be more of a territorial and aggressive behavior by this creature. And that's interesting to me. And, you know, like I said the other day, you know, we talked about Gigantopithecus that existed, you know, hundreds of thousands of years ago. Someone's going to fact check that. But nature already had a blueprint for this creature. It was already there. So I'm not so sure yet anymore. I'm not so sure what I believe and what I don't now about this particular subject.
But let me, like, kind of give a clarification. You don't believe that the Gigantopithecus was a link to us? Like, it was a subspecies of some sort.
I'm sure there's a connection.
Like an evolutionary offshoot, maybe. You know? I mean, we're all in the same primate family together, so...
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if I believe that, like, the way that I would think of it is that if there is some type of primate that's that big, it's more related to the Gigantopithecus than it is us.
Probably, yeah.
That's the key. That's what we don't know. You know,
yeah,
we're not going
like,
to unless we.
Like, I just don't see, like,
the biggest primate that we actually know of is gorillas, and those are huge. So.
Yeah,
but they don't get that tall. They're in the way that their legs. Well, if you actually see their legs, they're very stubby. Like, they're very small legs.
Yeah, they stand. Their arms are a lot longer than their legs, or at least it appears to be that way to me.
Well, they keep them curled. Yeah, they keep them curled up the way that I see them.
It's because they.
But he actually made a very valid point. Most primates, except, like, I know that, like, that kind of excludes us because we're part of the primate family. But most primates evolved, like, haven't evolved. They have, like, that
thumbs.
Yeah, they basically have, like, how would you say that?
It's
the thumb.
It's
like,
almost. I don't know the proper term, and I'm sure someone can reach out and let us know. But it's almost as if they have their big toe is a thumb.
Oh yeah.
And when we look at the Bigfoot footprints, it's not like that. It's more hominid. It's more like ours. So that right there, you know, even Gigantopithecus had the thumb toes. I don't know what
the thumb toes.
Chimpanzees have hands like us, don't they?
Yeah, we all share a similarity.
It could be in between.
Recently, I watched a video which was super interesting. It was the 11 most mysterious species of humans that ever existed, and it went into Neanderthal, Homo habilis,
Yeah.
Homo erectus, and then finally into Homo sapien. But there was so many. Neanderthal, I think I already mentioned Neanderthal, but it kind of showed that for quite a long period of time, several of these groups actually did exist in different places at the same time. We're related to them, but we didn't come from them per se. We're kind of our own thing. That's what nature does. It lets prototypes come forward, and if that prototype's a good one, then it gets to stay, and if it's not a great one, it'll fade away. And most species on the planet live about 1 million years. That's give or take. It's extremely hard to get a fossilized human remains of a human. Fossilization is very, very rare. It doesn't actually occur as much as people think. We think, wow, there's dinosaur bones everywhere. There's really not. We only are seeing about 1% of all fossilized things that ever existed. So we don't know how many humanoids lived and died and maybe fossilized or maybe didn't. I think that the answer is going to be in Siberia, where they keep pulling things out of the permafrost, the ice, When in regards to the Sasquatch, or the unknown primate,
They have many different names of them.
we have... Okay, let's suppose for a second that it's all true. There's a Sasquatch, there's a species, an upright hominid, a primate, that's displayed several characteristics that you would look for in a human. One, migrational pattern markers, the breaking of trees. 9 feet up in the air, the tree's broken and it's aimed, and then there's a row of them.
Yeah.
It's extremely hard to break a tree like that. Even for us humans, we have to use tools and try to, whatever. Even if you tied a strap to that, more than likely the tree's going to break down here, not 9 feet up.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me. The other thing, too, is, like I said, migrational patterns. Then there's the markers, the trees. They pile trees on, and I read somewhere that Native Americans believe that it's a symbol. Each tree that's leaned up in that pattern represents a family member, and they only do it when a baby is born. It's like a celebration. The other thing that I think is interesting is there are stories of there's one I'm actually trying to get her to talk to us, where she was actually lost in the woods in total darkness. A Sasquatch actually helped her out of the woods. It was helping her, but at the same time it was laughing at her because she couldn't see in the dark, and she kept tripping, and he kept stopping her and ushering her a different way until she got to safety. And she said that the most interesting part was when it put its hand on her, how big the hand was. She thought a bear got her. She thought, oh no, a bear's got me. But it was gentle with her. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't mean. It was almost as if it was saying, like, look at this little foot. He can't, she can't even see in the dark. Look at her tripping. Like, she can't see what she's doing. What kind of a
This is funny, haha.
What kind of a creature is walking around out here and can't see? And she doesn't even have much hair. What's up with this? And I think what we're seeing in those reports, a child that was taken by a family of them and taken back to where other humans are, to the edge of the forest. They took the child there. That's an interesting story to me. But all those things that's empathetic intelligence. That's that's not a dumb animal. That's something that's got an intelligence, maybe primitive compared to our standards of today, you know, cell phones and smart phones or smart TVs and
Smart fridges.
streaming and smart fridges and whatever. Edit that out. But this is an animal that's showing compassion and then sometimes showing aggression. It's hard to say. You know, it's an interesting subject for sure, and there's so many levels to it. I never realized in a million years that when you dive into this subject, you're not just diving into, you know, oh man, you know, Jim Bob saw Sasquatch outside of his barn the other night and shot at it with a whatever
Rifle.
and it scared the chickens. You're not getting that. You're getting insanely detailed reports where the person explaining it is trying to understand themselves what the hell they saw, you know. And I've been blown away by it. I've been researching it for 2 weeks now. Like I said, I went into Sasquatch not knowing more than Harry and the Hendersons and you know, a couple things on the Unsolved Mysteries, you know, and monster shows, you know. I never really got into finding Bigfoot. I thought it was kind of dumb, you know. Every time they go out there looking for Bigfoot, they never find him. They just look, and it always ends the same, you know. I just couldn't get into it because I didn't think it was worthy of the time spent researching it. But I have to say that now I'm leaning differently. I'm feeling differently. There's so much out there. It's awesome. Some really, really good ones I got into was Les Stroud's Survivor Man Bigfoot. I love that he goes into it with a 50-50 on it. He doesn't go in as a believer or a skeptic. He just kind of goes into it just to see what happens and find out for himself. What was the one? Thinker Thunker on YouTube. You can look that one up. I like that one a lot because he actually takes all the evidence that he finds and he subjects it to excruciating scientific analysis. And some of the things that he's seen and he's analyzed, we saw one today we were watching, is incredible. You know, incredible.
When it comes with like audio and stuff, like so many people can do so many things with audio. So
Very true.
like it's so, like coming from that, like if I was there, I'd probably give it a little bit more day in court, but
Right.
it's so hard. But the way, like when I actually watched the video, the wave file,
Yeah.
it's showing like
A very distinct pattern.
yeah, distinct pattern. If he could find another scene, like a completely different one, and it was almost identical.
He has.
Okay.
He has it. Yeah, I found that one too. He's got two of them, two different ones. That's one of them. He has another one that was I don't know if he found it himself or if he got it from someone sent it to him, whatnot, but he put them side by side. They're separated by 1,300 miles, and the sounds aren't the same, but they're really close.
It's like the fingerprint that he was talking about, like the wave fingerprint.
Earlier, when I was watching it, he actually said that you know, these are close but not the same, but neither are our voices. Our voices are going to be different. He goes, so maybe two different animals. I don't know. This is just one little thing in this world that is the Sasquatch phenomenon. I love it. I think it's super interesting. I never was interested in this before, but I found myself just getting hooked. I want to know more, you know. I was even sitting there one night thinking like, man, I want to go out and look. And I'm like, I snapped out of it like, what the hell? Like, am I getting this sucked into this? I have many other things I want to talk about. You know, I'm really excited about going into the Dogman, you know, which I find the Dogman a lot more scary than I do the Sasquatch topic. Because it's the Dogman. That's terrifying.
I'm ready for Mothman.
The Mothman, you know. I love these unexplained creatures and you know, I'm not against like ghost stories and alien stuff. I want to get into all of it. But these creatures, I think I just have a connection towards the creatures. I'm most interested in them. Maybe it was too much Godzilla.
Are we going to bring our guest in?
Yeah, I told him it'd be around 6, so a few more minutes. Like I said, we'll post-edit out our chit-chat. What?
Almost 6.
Almost 6, okay.
Well,
we could get him in here and get the sound. Let me make sure he's ready. So I'm really excited to talk to him. I've been wanting to. We've had some scheduling difficulties over the last week or two. He's been called into work and things haven't gone great, but I'm glad that we're going to get to talk to him finally, you know. Another one I've been watching, I think I told you about it, is the homesteading off-grid. I just don't know what to make of it. Mm-hmm. It's almost, you'd almost have to just take, like, I send you a link.
Yeah, you did.
And just watch a few of them and just see what you think. You know, I can't tell if he's, honestly, I can't read the guy. He's entertaining as all hell. I'll give him that. Like, he is entertaining. But I can't tell if he's the real deal. He's a real Sasquatch enthusiast, or if he's just having a lot of fun, you know, with his, you know, whatever. But regardless, the channel's really awesome, and I'm almost ashamed to admit this, but he got me good the other night with his video. He had a jump scare in this video that just, oh my God, I felt my heart beating. Okay, I'm going to get Lee on here. Let's go ahead and start trying this. And we might have... There we go. You got audio? Mm-hmm. Okay. Hello, Lee.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Hey, there he is. What's going on, man? Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, man. So we were actually just on your YouTube. I was just checking it out. I just checked out your one video, the footprint you posted earlier today. You told me about.
Yeah.
So what the hell's going on over there, man? What are you seeing?
Well, I've been doing this for about right around 13 years now, and we have seen several of these creatures down there. I mean, there's reports always back like in the early 50s when it was first seen down there. But as far as me personally, we've had, let's see, we saw that one today, but that was like, so that one we saw today was just, I mean, it was quick. I mean, just a few seconds. Yeah. But I've seen one with another guy named Sam. We called him Sam, I am.
Okay.
That was probably the best one that I've ever actually seen, because it come up on us.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Like how close we talking?
Let's see, maybe, I'm going to say 35, 40 feet.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Now, how did that feel to be that close?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. We didn't have our weapons on us that night.
Yeah.
And what happened was we were in a campsite that night, and this guy wanted to go squatching with me. So I took him several times, and we went out to this one area, and we stayed out there for 2 days straight, and it rained the entire time.
Okay.
So what we did was we completely surrounded ourselves with tarps, and we put a tarp on top of us to keep the rain off of us.
Sure.
So after about 2 days of rain, and it happened on a Saturday night, about probably between, I'll say, 10 and 10:30, on the left-hand side of the forest, he started hearing something. And I said, "What are you hearing?" He said, "Man," he said, "it sounds like something walking." Well, probably about, it wasn't long right after that. Now, the only way I can describe it was it sounded like an elephant coming through the woods. That's exactly what it sounded like. It was tremendously loud, man.
No
I mean, it sounded like it was breaking trees in half when it was coming through there. That's the truth.
Jesus.
So, yeah, but like I said, we were completely tarped in, and we had 2 holes cut in the tarps because we were looking through night vision then. Now I use a flare thermal so I can see the body heat.
Okay.
And so we're sitting there, we heard that, right? Well, all of a sudden we hear, it was kind of foggy that night too, not real bad, but a little bit of fog, because like I said, it'd been raining all, 2 days. But anyway, we heard it come, and it literally walked from the left-hand side of the forest to the right-hand side.
No kidding.
Okay. Then once it comes from the left to the right, right there where we were parked at, there's some gravel there too. We heard it literally walk on the gravel, and that is one sound I swear to you I will never forget.
Really?
Is the sound of something heavy with like rubbery sounding hard feet. I'll never forget that sound, man.
No kidding.
But like I said, we heard it walk off on the gravel, and we thought it was gone. Okay. Well, about probably close to less than 20 minutes later, it comes back again, and we heard it come walking back up on the gravel. But when it did, it came up to the side of the tarp where I was sitting. Okay, and so once it was on the other side of the tarp, I could have reached out my hand and touched it. I felt like that. That's how close it was to me.
Jesus.
But we was behind the tarp. But I mean, it almost sounded like like a big man if he had asthma. It was kind of like you could hardly, like he was having trouble breathing. That's what he sounded like.
Okay.
So it walked in front of us, and at this time I hadn't seen it yet. Okay. And Sam's sitting there looking through the night vision. He's sitting there looking. He's like, we can hear it. You know, why can't we see it? Well, all of a sudden, and Sam was sitting beside me, right? And this guy's ex-Marine, so he's ex-military.
Okay.
So he's sitting there looking through night vision, and he's like, oh my God. And I said, what? And he goes, dude, he said, lean over. He said, it's right here in front of me. Okay. Well, what we did was we had a small tent set out there in front of us.
Yeah.
And we had thought about maybe either trying to stay in that tent, but after the rain came up, we just stayed in the tarp for like 2 nights. So the tent was ahead of us, right? And that tent, like I said, was from where we were sitting, maybe 35 feet at the most. It wasn't very far.
Okay.
So when I leaned over, I told him, I said, don't move. We were whispering back and forth. I said, don't move that night vision. I said, let me just keep where it's at. So when I leaned over, what I saw was, I'm trying to describe this. It was about probably just a little over 7 foot. Okay.
Okay.
It wasn't big. Now, this was pretty much the first one that I had actually seen really, really good. Okay.
Yeah.
And when I always thought, you know, when I'd see one, you know, everybody thinks of Patty from Roger Patterson.
Sure.
This looked nothing like her, man. Nothing like her.
Really?
This thing was creepy looking, dude. I'm gonna tell you right now, it was creepy looking. It was about, like I said, about 7 foot, maybe just a little over. It had long, shaggy looking matted hair like a dog. Okay. And it was, the one thing I'll never forget was, you know, when somebody when they break their shoulder, if their shoulder never sits right, how the shoulder's cocked up in the air.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's what this thing looked like. Its right shoulder was cocked way up in the air. I don't know if the shoulder had been broke or it was just deformed. I don't know what it was. But that's the one thing I'll never forget about that creature. And Sam said the same thing. It stood there for a few seconds. Okay, it like I said, it wasn't big and bulky. It was tall, but it was slim looking, not real big. But it did have broad shoulders and had long arms, and it was bent at the knees, not straight, but bent, like right there behind your kneecap. It was bent at an angle, like when it was standing.
Okay.
Okay. It stood there for a few seconds, and then it went around the tent. And like I said, if Sam was here, he'd tell you the same thing. It went around the tent like 3 times. Okay. And when it went around the tent, it was slapping the tent with its hand every time it go around the tent. I don't think what happened was, I don't think it could smell us, because after being out there for 2 days, he didn't know he was out there, because we were completely camoed in. You didn't know he was there. So like I said, and he was going around the tent, and he was hitting the tent with his hand. After about the 3rd time, now here's the thing, he never, not one time, turned and looked at us. That's why I don't think he knew he was there. He went around the tent. The 3rd time, when he got to the, let me think, it's been a while back, when he got to the right hand side of the tent, okay?
Yeah.
He looked to his right, and we saw him. He looked to his left, and he let out this god awful scream, and he took off and went right down the forest.
No kidding.
That's been the best one I've ever seen. I've seen him on flare, I've seen him on video, but you know, that's the best one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It really is. And today, like I said, I mean, I just went out to an area yesterday, and I put the digital recorder out, and I told about a loggers encounter that I'd heard.
Yeah, I checked that one out.
And I went back this morning, but yesterday, the low water bridge, the bridge was completely underwater. So I knew I couldn't go that way. So I went the other way, went the back road. And when I went that back road, when I come around that curve, honest to God, when I come around that curve and I hit that straight point, straight ahead, what I saw, no lie, what I saw was a brownish to black looking figure. And like I said, it was tall as that stop sign. So it was every bit of 7.5 to 8 foot, every bit of it.
Do you think that's the same one, or is this
no,
different?
No, it's totally different area. Different area.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was brownish black looking. And like I said, he was at least 7'5", close 8 foot. Like I said, he was as tall as that sign. He might have been taller than that sign, but the distance I was looking at, he was every bit of that sign, as tall as that sign.
Okay.
And all I saw was it looked like a big head, and it was humped over. Now, I tell you right now, I have seen my share of deer in this country, in the woods right there. And I know what a deer looks like, even at a quarter of a mile running across the road. This was no deer. And I'm telling you right now, if this was a bear, then this bear was standing on his hind legs and he was running like a man.
Yeah.
No, this wasn't no bear, trust me. So, and I talked to Stride, dude, and we found that this morning. Then, like I said, this happened at 10:30 this morning. This wasn't like at nighttime.
Yeah.
We found them 2 footprints. That one footprint, it lines up exactly perfect with the next one going straight up that hill. And I tried twice to do the actual walk, like to go up. I couldn't do it, man. There's no way.
I've seen a couple of videos, especially, I don't know how you feel about Todd Standing, but I watched a video that he had where he caught a little bit of a clip of one going up a hill. And when I watched it, I couldn't get over the size of the strides compared to the trees next to it. That's the one thing I obviously in this whole subject, there's a lot of hoaxers and there's a lot of misinformation. But the one thing that I couldn't get over was, if that's a guy in a suit, how the hell is he taking a step that big? Is he on stilts? What in going up a snow-covered, embankment like it's nothing?
Yeah, he was running kind of like zigzag, going up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me. That's before we called you, we kind of spoke a little bit on here. It's actually you're not talking to just one of us. It's me, Denny. I've been talking to you on Facebook. We've got Tyler here, and my daughter Sam is actually here too. She's interested a lot, into this same stuff.
Hey, how you doing?
And I kept telling him about you. I was like, you guys got to check this guy out. Check out his YouTube. It's awesome. I'm actually new to the subject because years ago, I and a friend of mine, we heard something after hearing a fantastic story from someone else about a creature that was stalking him.
Yeah.
And we thought we were all young. We thought he was out of his damn mind, to be quite honest with you. And we were sitting around one night and we're talking, and out of nowhere he literally looks at us and he goes, "I have to go, it's here," and he just left.
Really?
And we were sitting there and we were laughing, we had a couple beers sitting there. We hadn't even really gotten into drinking yet, you know what I mean? We were just kind of enjoying the night, and it wasn't maybe a couple minutes later that scream happened, and it wasn't off in the distance like in some of these YouTube videos that I've checked out. This was 30 feet away.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, it scared the shit out of us. And for years, this guy's story, he kept describing it as a demon coming after him.
Yeah.
And I searched for years of stories around here, about some demon. And I never found anything. And one day I happened upon a YouTube video that says Sasquatch screams in the distance. I press play and I listen, and all the hair on the back of my neck stands up. There's the sound again. Holy shit. So,
oh yeah, dude.
I'm brand new into this field. I can't tell you I'm an expert. I know less than anybody about this probably. But I know what I heard that night, and that's what's led me to you. I've been on your YouTube and I've checked out your videos, and I find it fascinating. What got you into this? What started this for you?
Well, truthfully, when I was 10 years old, I had an encounter with my dad, and the creature was actually, the videos on my YouTube channel were actually talking about what happened when it happened, when I seen him. The creature was looking in the window at my grandma. And me and my dad went outside because she woke up. My dad's name was Robert. And she woke him up and she said, "Robert, there's a man looking in the window." And, my dad was like, "I ain't nobody looking at you, going back to sleep."
Yeah.
So, that is. I was 10 years old.
Yep.
So she said, "No, Robert." She said, "There's a man looking at me through the window." And the way I had to describe it, like I said, if you watch my video, you'll understand it more.
Okay.
We lived in a trailer park. It was called Hillside Trailer Park. And there was only like 4 trailers in there. And we was like we was like the 3rd trailer down, and there was a little bitty street light there, and it didn't give off a whole lot of light, but it gave off enough so you could just see just a little bit.
Sure.
Well, the way the trailers were set, they were, instead of being like straight, they were long ways. So our trailer, basically, if you looked out the back glass, you were looking down a hill and you were looking at the forest. Okay. Well, for a while there, I don't know what it was. I never really saw nothing until that night. My dad, he's like, I always had this weird feeling that there was something in the forest watching me, because there was like an old barbed wire fence there, and it was like an old cow pasture, but there was nothing out there. And I remember going out there one time, and I was walking up and down that barbed wire fence. I remember I had a stick, and I was hitting the stick with the barbed wire, and all of a sudden I could hear something walking. So when I would walk, it'd walk. When I'd stop, it'd stop. And it done that several times. So I went running up the hill and looked out the back glass, and I always thought I was going to see something.
Right.
Well, it wasn't too long after that is when that night we had with my grandma. And like I said, when she told my dad that, my dad got up and he grabbed me. Why he took me with him, I have no idea. But my dad had like an old 22 pistol, okay?
Yeah.
So he said, come on. So he grabbed me, and we went out the front door and went to the left and went around the trailer. Well, like I said, that street light that was there, you could see just a little bit. Couldn't see a whole lot.
Yeah.
Okay? But so when we hit the corner of that trailer, looking straight at the back end of the trailer,
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. There stood a tall, slim, black figure, okay? Now, the thing about it was where the trailer was, at the very back end of the trailer, it started going downhill just soon. So we can only see like maybe, I'm going to say between shin up, okay?
Okay.
But at that distance, it was at least over 7 foot. And we were looking right at it, and it was pitch black. I mean, it was a silhouette of a black figure, okay? Well, my dad, he hollered out, and he said, I don't know who you are. He said, but you better get out of here. I got a gun. It didn't move. My dad hollered again. He said, listen, he said, I'm going to tell you one more time. You better get out of here. I'm going to shoot you. He didn't move. When my dad held the thing up in the air, he fired twice. The thing still did not move. After a few seconds, it turned real slow, and we watched it walk down the hill. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, that was my very first encounter with this creature, and I'm pretty sure that was a creature. That's what it was. Because the next day we went out there, and, you know, where the window to my grandma's, to the window of the trailer, and the more I think about it, I've thought about it these years, I would literally have to stand on a 5-gallon bucket just to even look in the window.
Right.
So that was my very first encounter. And, you know, years went by. So I really got out of it, but I didn't really give it a whole lot of thought. Still liked it.
Yeah.
And then I heard about Uwari. So I got my son, and my son started doing his first time with me.
Right.
And I told him, I said, let's just get down there and just see what happens, right?
Yeah.
So we went down there, and we couldn't find a good location because, you know, there's different areas down there that have activity. Not all of them, different areas.
Yeah.
So we go down there, you know, to a couple of them, nothing happened. And then we went into this one area, and we were sitting, and it wasn't that late at night. We were sitting in the back of my truck. It's probably between 9:30 and 9:40. And we're sitting there, stars out, and there's absolutely nobody in the park. It's just us. And it's not a real big park either. So we're sitting there, and on the right-hand side of me, something went, whoop, just like that. And my son looked at me, and he said, did you hear that? And I said, yeah. I said, I heard it. So a few seconds went by, nothing. About 5 minutes went by, nothing.
Yeah.
About 10 minutes go by, and we hear it again. It goes, whoop, whoop, just like that.
Yeah.
But when it did at that time, something on the left-hand side of the forest went, and started arguing with it.
I've heard theories that the whooping sound is like a scout, or what did they call it? A day watcher, I think is the term.
Like a signal.
Yeah, like they're letting them know, like, hey, you know, there's humans near. You know, you might want to make yourself scarce or something. I don't know.
Yep. So that's how it all started for me right there. Like I said, that's when I got back into it, and
That started.
that started it right there, because I wasn't exactly sure what we was hearing, but I knew for a fact that whatever was answering that call wasn't coming from nobody. And we've been down there before, me and my son, the exact same area a few years after that. And we were standing around a fire, and all of a sudden, from behind us in the forest, we heard it 2 times. It sounded like an old man talking, but you couldn't understand him. Nothing. It was just like that.
Okay.
But real deep, almost like it was coming out of a grave.
Now I've heard of that too. The vocalizations and whatnot. It almost sounds like it sounds like a primitive. It sounds like a primitive human starting to learn how to speak. That's what the impression I got. Yeah. Very interesting. And it just started the whole thing for you, huh?
Yeah, that pretty much started the whole thing. And then I like I said, I stayed in that one area for about 2 years. I get down there like every weekend.
Yeah.
And then I started researching some other areas. And then that one area that I used to use all the time, it got to the point where when they had that show, that fake Finding Bigfoot, they ain't never finding nothing.
Yeah.
People came in there, they did that show, and they just took over that area pretty much. And you go out there now and you try to do some research, and there might be somebody in the woods up there hollering and screaming just to mess with you. You don't know.
Okay,
So that's why I left that area and I started researching other areas in Uwharrie. And like I said, I don't tell nobody where I go. Nobody knows where I go except maybe just a handful of people.
That's probably for the best, though.
It is, and where I go, there's nobody around me, so I ain't got to worry about nobody. So,
Yeah.
and people are like, well, how do you know if you find a track that it's real? Well, here's the difference. If you're walking on a trail, just a perfect trail, and you see a footprint, 10 to 1 it's fake. They wanted you to find it.
Okay.
But if you're walking out in the forest or you're off trail for 2 or 3 miles and you're doing this, and you come across a track in the middle of nowhere, you best believe that sucker's real.
Okay.
Because there's no way. If somebody wanted to fake a track, they're going to walk 3 miles out in the forest and hope to God somebody's going to come across it.
Right.
I mean, because with the weather, there's no way the track will be tore up before you ever got to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I noticed when I went through your videos and I was checking them out, fantastic stuff.
I appreciate it.
The old man is a theme that comes up.
The old man of the forest.
The old man of the forest, and
Yes.
as soon as I read it, I'll admit it had me right away. I was instantly I was in. I didn't know what you had in store for me, but I was in right then.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about the old man in the story?
Yeah, that actually happened with me and Sam. And now Sam saw him. I didn't. I have yet to this day to see the old man in the forest, but he has been seen down there several times. He's around. He's not real big. He's around 6'5", just a little more. And he's completely covered in silver, grayish-looking hair. That's why I call him the old man of the forest. Now, when me and Sam was down there, we was down there for 2 nights, Friday night and Saturday night again, just like before.
Yeah.
But this time it wasn't raining, and we was about 5.5 to 6 miles back on this old dirt road, logging road, is basically what it is. And so we parked and we walked up this long hill till, I don't know, maybe close to the length of a football field. Okay. And we go up there and we sit up, and this was on Friday. So we get out there, we set our tents up, we build a fire, and we're sitting around talking. Well, right straight ahead of us, I'm gonna say probably about maybe 120 feet, maybe.
Yeah.
We started hearing something that sounded like a baby deer. It was going like, bah, like that. And Sam looked at me and he said, "Did you see a deer come in here when we was in here?" And I said, "Nope," and we didn't. I mean, it's a big open area, so if anything's out there moving, we'd see it. But also too, we had a storm come through. There was a lot of trees and a lot of brush down also.
Yeah.
So about, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes go by, it does it again. And Sam looked at me and he said, "I'm gonna tell you right now," he said, "if that does that again," he said, "I'm gonna walk down there." And I said, "All right." So maybe 30 minutes go by and it did it again. Well, just as soon as it did it, Sam jumped up, and like I said, I didn't have a weapon on me at that time either.
Yeah.
Sam grabbed a flashlight, the only flashlight we had. So he grabbed a flashlight. I know, he took off, and I cut my flashlight on my phone on. So he took off running down there, and I was like, "Hold on, dude." So I went behind him. Yeah, because I mean, the one thing about that area is it's full of holes. I mean, leg breakers, you'll break your neck real quick. So we went down there, right?
Right.
And we got just about to where we heard that sound. And when we got there, the thing went, bah, like that again. And when it did, honest to God, dude, you could hear it get up off the ground. Because it sounded like it was under some brush, like a pile of brush.
Yeah.
You could hear that pile of brush coming up off the ground, and it was loud. Well, just as soon as we heard that, we heard like, where it took off walking. Okay? So it took off, and Sam took off after it. He just running, come on. I'm like, "Hold on, dude, I'm right behind you," And I ain't gonna lie, I was trying to get behind him. I hit a hole and I fell, I got right back up. Okay, well, Sam was probably, I'm gonna say, he was probably 60, 70 feet ahead of me. Okay, when he gets to the top of the hill, like I said, I'm right behind him, about 60 feet.
Yeah.
He started hollering, oh my God, did you see it?" Now, here's where I tell you this, though. I had not told Sam about the old man of the forest, not yet. I never described him to him or nothing else, okay?
Yeah.
He did not know about that. So he said, "Oh my God, did you see it? Did you see it?" And I said, "What did you see?" He said, "You didn't see it." And I said, "No, what did you see?" He said, "Dude," he said, "You see that big tree right there?" I said, "Yep." He said, "You see that tree right there? It's got the fork in it?" I said, "Yep." He said, "You see that tree right there?" I said, "Yep." He said, "Man," he said, "I saw something walk from that tree to that tree. And when it went to that tree," he said, "it cut and it went up to the back." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yep." And I said, "What did it look like?" And I thought he was going to say, brown or black looking.
Right.
He said it was silver and gray. And I said, what'd you say? He said it was silverish gray looking. And I said, no, wait a minute. I said, what was it built like? I said, was it a deer? He said, no, dude. He said, no. He said, this was not a deer. He said, I saw a big head. He said, this thing was humped over. He said, I saw arms swinging. Okay. Now, after that happened, we sat down and I told him, I said, there's a story down here about what they call the old man of the forest. And I described it to him. And he looked at me, and I'm telling you right now, man, this guy turned white as a ghost. Yeah. He said, are you serious? And I said, yeah. He said, so do you think what I just saw was that? And I said, you described it to a T, dude, and I hadn't even told you about it yet. Well, we set up the rest of the night, and about 4 o'clock in the morning, off behind us, we hear, bah! He was still up there behind us.
So he came back.
Yes, sir. He came back. Yes, sir.
Maybe he was out there tracking you guys,
Yeah. But so that's the old man of the forest. And like I said, he's been seen down there a while.
So when you walked up on him and he was down in the weeds, do you think what do you think? You guys maybe you woke him up, or was he napping? I
think we started him.
Okay.
Because I don't think that he was expecting us to walk down there.
Was he trying to bait you out with this?
Well, no. I think what we think was the next morning when we got out, and here's another thing too. Okay, before any of this happened, like I said, Sam, he's ex-military, right?
Yeah.
He said, I want to set out tripwires. So we went around. There's probably close to maybe 100 yards, and we set out tripwires everywhere. And we had excuse me, we had little bells on them. Okay.
Okay.
So on the left-hand side of where we were sitting, Sam's tent was close to this little bitty embankment. Well, right behind that embankment, he had one of the tripwires with a little green bell. Okay. So that night, we got in our tents probably about 5 o'clock that morning, and we laid in there, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half. And I got out and started brushing my teeth, and Sam got out, and he was standing there looking at me, and he said, Lee. I said, what? And he said, come here. I went over there and looked, and behind his tent on an embankment, the tripwire was broke. The little green bell was gone, and there was a footprint where it was standing, looking right dead at Sam's tent.
Huh.
Okay? Yeah. So we think what happened was right after we saw that the next morning, we were standing there, and all of a sudden, down on the right-hand side of us, we saw a big doe and a bunch of small ones. So we think what happened was the old man of the forest was following them. And when we got in there, he just hunkered down because he didn't want to move because we was in there.
So he was hunting?
Yes, he was hunting them deer. That's exactly what we were thinking. And like I said, when we got in there, he got like to the point where it's like, I don't want to go nowhere because if I do, I'm going to be seen.
Yeah.
And I guess he figured once it got dark, we wouldn't see him. And if we hadn't literally walked down there to where he was at, I don't think he would have even got up and took off.
It's interesting. Here in Kentucky, there's not a whole lot of large predators for deer.
Yeah.
We have the occasional, groups of coyotes, things like that. But they primarily go after smaller things, helpless, farm animals, chickens, things like that, the usual. But, I've been walking in the woods before, and I've come across in almost complete skeletons of deers that have been just laying there. And I always found it kind of strange because, the places I go walking are family, it's all family owned. It's around 89 acres, and it's several parts of my family live all over it, but there's a lot of woods there. And it's always kind of strange, when you come across a large animal that's basically looks like it's been killed, you know what I mean, or whatever, or fell down dead, but it's mostly intact,
Yeah.
That's something I've always wondered about. I heard an argument years ago, just in passing, people were arguing about the existence or non-existence of the unknown primate Bigfoot, and they said, well, what the hell is a primate gonna eat, in North America? And then you can't help but to say, like, well, I don't think that's the problem of the whole question. I think that the real problem is, what isn't it going to eat?
That's
I mean,
true.
A large omnivore should be able to make it in this country better than almost any, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
There's lots of prey animals, big and small. You can forage. You can. We have more undeveloped land, in between than anybody does. So to me, it seems maybe probable that large primate could stay pretty hidden, especially if they know about us and they're wary of us, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I don't believe. I mean, I know people talk about cave systems and stuff. And, you know, we've got some caves down here, but I don't think they live in the caves. I never have. I think they live underground. They tunnel underground. That's where I'm thinking they're at.
Really? Like they,
Yes, sir.
they dig under, or do you think they have
Yes, sir.
spots that they?
They dig under. I think they do.
Okay.
And there's reason I believe that. Now that one, talking about the old man of the forest too, that one video I did about the cave. You know, there was a hunter years ago that literally saw what he described as being a gray, silver-looking, upright bipedal creature dragging a deer out of that cave and going up the hill with it.
No kidding.
No, yeah, the video's on my YouTube channel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, I've always believed that they were underground. I've always have. And we've, I used to be with a group called Bigfoot 911.
Yeah.
And I've been to two of they call them the Bigfoot festivals in Marion, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
The first year we did it, we had 30-some thousand people. The second year we did it, we had like 50,000 people.
Wow.
And man, I'm not gonna lie to you, I met people from all over the world who knew who I was.
Bigfoot's got fans, man.
Yeah, watching my videos and they follow me left and right. And I was like, dude, I'm not lying to you. The first year we done it, I swear to God, I shook hands for 8 hours. I'm sure I shook 30,000 hands. And people were like, oh my God, I can't believe it's you. And I'm like, yeah, it's me.
I believe that.
But,
I mean, as soon as I got on your channel, like I said earlier, I was hooked from the get go. It was more along the lines of, you see all these productions about Bigfoot and Sasquatch and whatnot, and some of them are just overproduced, and it's made to be dramatic. And then here I come across yours, and what I get is an everyday guy who's talking to me like a human being and telling me about what you've experienced and what you've done out there and the things that you've found. And honestly, it's awesome, you know. And
I appreciate it.
Really enjoy it.
That's why I tell people, you know, when I do my videos, so, you know, my videos aren't fancy. There's nothing great about them. It's just me doing this, and it is what it is. But now the subject of them, I think, you know, living underground. I met a lady at the Bigfoot Festival the first year we did this, and this woman didn't know me from Adam. It was an Indian lady. I think she was Navajo, if I'm mistaken. She come up and she was short. You know, I'm right at 6 foot. She was like maybe 4'9". She was short. And she come up to me and she said, I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. She said, because I follow you on the page. I said, I appreciate that. She said, can I tell you something? She said, I've only told a handful of people. And she said, every time I bring it up, they make fun of me. And I said, I won't make fun of you. Tell me all you want. She said that when she was 9 years old, okay, that it was her and her mom, and they lived on this, I guess, like this reservation.
Yeah.
But she said that where their house was, that the wood line was like not too far from the house. But they would always tell the kids, don't go in the forest because I can't think what she called it. Skookum, I think maybe what she called it, like the mountain devil.
Yeah.
Said that the skookum would get you. Okay.
Okay.
So she said they were warned for years and years, you know, do not go in the forest.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
So she said that one day, you know, being 9 years old and being bored, she said, I walked out there. She said, my mom was out there doing something. She said, she walked in the house. She said, so I just walked out in the woods. And she said, I didn't go far. She said, I could still see my house. She said, I walked out there and she said, I was just sitting there playing with sticks. And she said, but behind me, she said, I heard some movement. Okay. And she told me, she said, now, kind of like I say in my videos, you know, if you believe me, you do, you don't, that's fine with me. I don't really care.
Yeah.
She said, but when I turned around, she said, the ground, she said, I saw something standing up out of the ground. She said, it looked like the ground just opened up like a lid. It come up out of the ground. She said, this thing jumped up out of the ground and started towards her. She said, she started screaming bloody murder and she took off running.
Yeah.
She says her mom heard her, so she come out her door and she said her mom was screaming, run, 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 it's behind you. She said, I never turned around and looked yet. She said, but the only thing that saved me, she said, this thing literally grabbed my shirt. And she said, you know, us being poor, she said, what little I had on wasn't a lot to it.
Yeah.
She said, it ripped my shirt, okay, trying to pull me backwards from the shoulder. She said, when I got out of the wood line and I got to my mom, she said, when I turned around, she said, this thing was standing at the edge of the wood line. It would not come out of the forest. She said, it would not come out of the woods at all.
Wouldn't come into the clear?
No, it would not come into the clear. She said, that's exactly what she said. She said, we stood there and looked at it for probably, she said, maybe a minute or two. She said, it turned. and it went walking back. She said, but then it stopped and it turned back around and looked to make sure I wasn't coming back in the woods. She said it turned back around, it started walking, and she said, honest to God, she said this thing squatted down. She said then it took both hands and it like stuck its hands in like the dirt in the ground. And she said he was moving his arms up and down, and she said the ground came up, and she said he shot right back down on the ground.
Wow.
Yes.
I have not heard that one before.
Yeah.
The underground thing, but that's interesting. Coming back around to Todd Standing, he had a video where it did look like one came running across the hill, and then it went straight down into the ground.
Yeah.
And it's just gone. And they're walking all around it, trying to figure it out, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and I've always thought that.
It's
I've always
unbelievable.
thought that's what it'd be. Because, I mean, we got cave systems, and don't get me wrong, I do believe they use the caves, but I believe they use them more or less to, like, get out of the weather, get out of the rain, get out of storms, or if they're just trying to hunker down. I believe that's what they do. But as far as actually where they stay at, I do believe that they are underground. I really do.
Hey, you're in North Carolina. We're over here in Kentucky.
Okay.
Me and Tyler, we were actually talking about our cave system. We have a famous cave system down here called Mammoth Cave.
Oh yeah.
And it goes for how far does it go?
It said that it was like around like 400 miles, and they said that there might be another 6 unmapped.
Yeah, I mean,
Good
it's
Lord.
just an incredible cave system. And lately, when we've been starting to research this stuff, we've come across quite a bit of Sasquatch reports that come from that area. So
Oh yeah.
I mean, what you're saying, it sounds to me like it makes sense. I mean, that's a massive cave system that we've barely even, broke the surface, no pun intended. But I mean, I mean, that blows my mind, to be honest with you, that they might be underground, and it makes a lot of things make more sense. I mean, I've seen where people have tried to go, they've tried to take night vision and thermals and FLIR, and they've gone into the woods and they're not seeing nothing, or they might see a little bit of something and then it's just gone.
That's it.
And going underground, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I was watching the Bigfoot documentary. I mean, I watch stuff like that all the time now.
No.
It was about, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years ago. I was watching one, and I can't think what the guy's name was, but he said the same thing that I was thinking. He said, people are always looking for these creatures in caves, and up top, he said, how about looking underground for them? And I was like, oh my God, you said the exact same thing that I've been thinking all these years.
Yeah, that's a staggering idea too. I mean, where would you even begin?
Well, I've heard somebody say, what was the guy's name? I think it was out of Georgia. He said that he believes, now, this is all speculation, because I'm going to tell you right now, there is no such thing as a Bigfoot expert. I don't care who you are. Unless you're living with them 24/7, you know exactly what they're doing, how they're eating, where they're burying their poop, whatever. You're not a Bigfoot expert. You're just a researcher like I am, and you're trying to put the puzzle pieces together. That's it.
That is very, very. That's a lot of wisdom you just dropped on us just now. I'm just wanting you to know that.
but this guy said, now, like I said, he said, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not an expert. He said, but he believed that when he believes they bury their dead. Me, I believe that they eat their dead.
Really?
I believe that yes, because this creature, it's like anything else in the forest. If you've only got so much to eat, hey, if little Johnny dies, guess what? We can't find something to eat. Little Johnny's on the menu tonight. That's all I can tell you.
And how do you explain that if you're in the Sasquatch group and you come back without Bob?
That's right.
And everybody saw you leave with Bob, and they kind of look at you, and you kind of shrug. And,
yeah, wipe your mouth off. I ain't seen him.
Well, me and Bob got into a little dispute, and
yeah,
there's still some Bob left if you guys want some. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a little Bob left,
A little bit of Bob. Yeah, I mean, if they'll eat each other.
He believes they bury him, and he believes they push a tree over on top of the ground where they bury him. And it's weird when he said that, because in my area in Uwharrie, ever since he said that, I'm always looking for I always look for stupid stuff like that now. Every once in a while, I'll find a tree that's like been pushed over, it's failed.
Yeah.
And you can see a big dirt mound up underneath it, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just got to bring a shovel one day and just start digging.
That is, I've been researching the tree thing, and I've seen where, you know, some people, I even touched on a little bit before we called you about the broken off trees, kind of like a navigational marker.
Oh yeah.
What do you think about that? Where do you stand on that one?
I do believe that's what it is, because I mean I've seen some weird stuff when it comes to trees,
Yeah.
and it's weird. Just like, okay, I know what wind damage looks like, I know what snowfall looks like,
Sure.
but when you come across, let's say, like for example, this happened a few years ago. We was out there, and I'm talking in the middle of nowhere, right? And there was like 7 or 8 trees all bound up together, weaved in the top and everything else, and not one other tree around it was like that. Okay.
Okay.
And it looked like the way it done is like it made a big nest up in the top of it, so you could just literally sit up there and look around. Okay. But I've come across trees to where, like, I mean, the tree be as big around as my forearm, right?
Yeah.
And it's broke down, but it's twisted, not just snapped. This thing is literally twisted around 2 or 3 times.
Something grabbed it and twisted it to
Yes,
break it.
yes. And I mean, as big as my forearm, it takes a lot of pressure to do that.
Yeah.
So, but it's weird because, like, you'll find a tree, and like this tree will be going to the right, and the next one's going to the left, or you'll find 2 that's pointing to the right, and no other trees around it are even done like that. To me, there are territory markers. It's like, hey, we're going this way, you're going that way.
Okay.
And also, like, what else I find interesting is, like, when you'll find a tree completely bent over to like a U,
Yeah.
and the top of it will be drug in the ground about 12 inches.
Yeah, I've
I
seen a
found
little
that
bit of that.
several times.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Oh, yes.
That's amazing. When I'm out at my own property now, I'm gonna be literally paranoid, looking for this stuff everywhere.
And audio, oh my God, dude, I've got some crazy audio in the last 13 years. I've heard stuff in the woods, man, that sometimes I even wonder why I even go back out there. I've heard what sounds like a woman being literally murdered, dude. Oh, I've got my audio. I've got it all here at the house. I've got the sound of what sounds like a woman being murdered. I've got what we think pretty much is a female. Every time we go out there, if we do a certain yell, she'll answer us 2 times. She does it every single time. I've heard what sounds like if you take big old rocks and just smack them together in the dead of night.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard the wood knocks on top of wood knocks. There's nothing to that. But the weirdest thing that I think, it's probably the second weirdest thing I think I've ever heard, was about probably 9 years ago. At the dead of night, between 2 and 2:30 in the morning, I'm sitting there listening to the parabolic dish, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and I'm talking in the middle of nowhere, pitch dark, nobody else around but us.
Yeah.
You could hear what sounded like somebody dragging a big, heavy cow chain in the middle of the forest. And you could tell it was a big, heavy chain. It was dragging it, making that sound, dragging it across the ground, and it would drop it. A few minutes later, it'd pick it back up, drag it, drop it. And it done that for probably 40 minutes until it just completely just went away. I couldn't hear it no more.
No kidding.
That's one of the weirdest things I ever heard. The second weirdest thing I ever heard was we was up on a place, it's called Dark Mountains, near Jumping Off Rock.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I'm bad about doing is I love taking my digital recorder out there, and I'll leave it out there overnight for 2 days, then I'll go back and get it. And that's how I catch a lot of my audio.
Yeah.
Okay. So we went out to this area in Dark Mountain, and we stuck it in this area, and we left it out there for 2 days. Got 48 hours of audio. The only 2 times you hear anybody is when me and my wife left it and when me and my wife came back. And the digital recorder, I don't care what it is. I can pick somebody up, 500 to 1,000 yards away just talking, because I know when somebody's in the area. You cannot get away from it. There's no way getting away from it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, on the first night, absolutely nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
On the second night, around 1 o'clock in the morning, out of the blue, okay, we started hearing what kind of sounded like Indian talk, like Native American talk. Okay, it was going like, I don't know if I can do it. It was going like, hey, yeah, nah, and it would yell like that.
Huh.
Okay.
Okay.
Real high pitch. Then you would hear something answering it, and I'm like, no, wait a minute. There's nobody out there. There's nobody. Nobody's come in the last 30 some hours. So where's the sound coming from? Okay. Well, maybe 15, 20 minutes go by, and you hear, and it's real loud. And then all of a sudden you hear something answer, like that. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. There's nobody out here. What am I hearing here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this went on for like 5 or 6 minutes, and then it just quits. It just stops. Okay. Well, I sent it to a guy that I know, and I told him, I said, listen to this. I said, tell me what you hear. Well, a few days later, he come back to me, and he said, man, where'd you get that at? I said, I got that off Dark Mountain. He said, do you realize what that is? And I said, I know it sounds like Native American chatter. He said, dude, he said, I'm gonna tell you right now. He said, because this guy's an Indian.
Yeah.
He said, what we would do when we go out, he said, let's just say we was in a part of the forest. He said, that's what they're doing is they're yelling to see where we was at, and we would answer them. I said, for real? He said, yes, dude. He said, they're communicating with each other.
No kidding.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So and I believe what we caught that night was actually 2 Sasquatches, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them, actually communicating with each other.
They're actually.
And I've never heard that before in my life, and I've never got that sound since.
You think they were like, trying to let each other know where they were at to meet up, or
exactly. And it was weird because it was kind of like a high pitched voice, but it was also kind of like a guttural growl. But it was gibberish. You couldn't understand nothing they were saying, but it sounded just like Native American talking.
Sort of like they were vocalizing what they think were, like they're like a parrot almost.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't know if I'm
because they'll mimic us. They will mimic us in a heartbeat.
No kidding.
Yes, and they're bad about like dogs, especially coyotes, owls. Oh yeah, they'll mimic a coyote and an owl in a heartbeat.
Wow, I don't know why that never really occurred to me that they might mimic other animals around them and people that they overhear. The startling thing there is that how long were they sitting there watching somebody to learn this stuff?
Always, yeah.
Now,
ain't that the truth? Oh, did you? I know you've watched my YouTube videos, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen the one about the little girl who got missing?
I did.
Yeah.
That was, sheesh. When was that one? That was quite a little bit ago.
Yeah, that's been a few months ago.
Okay. Yeah, I think I went back and saw that one.
Yep. There's a 4-toed creature. Yep.
4-toed creature.
They called him the wild man of the forest, and that was in Uwharrie. And this was like back in the I can't remember, it was like 30s or 40s is when this happened. So all this stuff's been going on long before Roger Patterson ever found Patty in 1967.
No kidding. It sounds like the area that you're in has like a really, really rich history of this.
Oh, it does, man. Now here's the thing about Uwharrie. If you really don't know nobody down there, nobody wants to talk about it because they don't know you, they don't trust you. But once you actually get, like, if they get familiar with you, like, I mean, if they know who you are, I mean, they'll open up to you, man. I mean, they will literally open up to you. Say, hey, you're the guy who does this, or you're the guy who looks at Bigfoot. It's like, yeah, they knew who I am down there. Everybody knows who I am.
Okay.
So they're always like, hey, can we tell you this? Or, you know what's happening? I'm like, I find out stuff all the time like that.
That's awesome. Oh yeah. I mean, it helps too. I mean, it's helping you, build kind of a, what do you call it, a kind of triangulating your research a bit with having more people willing to talk to you.
Oh yeah,
That's handy.
Because like I said, when I first went down there, they didn't know me from Adam, and they wouldn't open up to me at all. And it took about a year for them to probably get to, maybe a year or 2 years, they finally got the hang of, that I wasn't just trying to bull them, and I was actually serious about this, and they just started opening up to me. And then when they opened up, they was just like, hey, it's like a book opened up, like, we had this happened here, listen to this is this area. I mean, it's just, I was learning stuff left and right.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I was actually worried when I reached out to you that you might have thought that I was trying to do that to you, but we are genuinely interested. I mean, I think you can tell that we're interested. We love hearing it. I think it's fascinating being a kind of a newbie to the to this topic myself. It's awesome to hear someone who has a long history of doing this.
Yeah.
Well, I actually wanted to go back a little bit here. You guys, like, were saying something about the whole, like, you caught the language, like them trying to talk to each other back and forth.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, like, you guys, like, you were just saying, like, how long was they actually staring at, like, people listening, like, trying to learn this stuff?
That's a startling.
That's like that. Yeah. That's startling. What do you believe? Like, why haven't they tried anything else? Like,
communication.
Because they, like, a lot of people, like, make fires in the woods. They have to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever think that they're even trying to go any further with it, like, learning wise?
Yeah, I've thought about that, and I've had people ask me the same thing about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know so much if they would go with the fire thing,
mm-hmm.
But as far as, like, stuff they do, I do believe that they make and use tools. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, and I mean they're just like primate. I mean they're so close to us it ain't even funny. Because
Yeah.
there's a video on YouTube where it shows I think it's a gorilla or it's an orangutan. It's one or the other, but this thing knows how to use a lighter and cook marshmallows and build a fire. I've seen the video. It's weird. It's so wild looking.
Yeah, what was the primate that actually just like they just said that they entered the Stone Age?
It was a group of chimpanzees started
Yeah.
making
Yes.
tools and actually like organizing themselves, and learning.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of weird. I would like to actually see like, man, that would be a great find if you could actually find some type of tool that does not seem like it predates like way back when. Like this was just made, but then again, you're like thinking like how could you tell?
right.
Yeah, no.
How can you tell who made this?
Yeah,
We don't know
Oh,
if
I
a
know.
human made this or maybe it was a Sasquatch.
Yeah,
or,
that would-
or,
Yeah, we found some weird looking rocks and stuff out there too.
yeah.
okay.
So have we.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have two. Well,
Yeah.
I assumed ours since my dad, the land I was telling you about, my dad grew up there, and they would find arrowheads and stuff constantly, and I always assumed that it was probably a good hunting place, all those
Yep.
many years ago for natives and whatnot. So I never really thought much of it, but I found an interesting rock when we were out there that it fit my hand so perfectly like a tool
Yeah.
that I couldn't get it out of my head. I was sitting there holding it like, this feels too right to not be a tool. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, every which way we held it, it seemed like it could have been used for something.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
like it had a sharp edge on one side, a blunt edge on the other, and like it was smooth where you
Yep.
would put your hand. And I'm like, nah, this just is weird.
I was putting
Oh, yeah.
in posts. I was putting in red cedar post for my wife's goat pen. And I dug down probably, almost 2 feet down in the ground. That's where I found it. So it wasn't like it was laying out in the open, This was
Oh yeah.
hidden by time, and it's interesting.
We've got a rock we found. It ain't been too long ago, and it looks just like a darn spearhead, a big spearhead.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's shaped like an arrowhead, but it's literally looks like a spearhead. And we looked up some stuff about that one, and the rock the way that it's shaped and the way that it looks, it was detailed as a spearhead,
Yeah.
and it dates back like 500 million years. It's old, dude.
No kidding.
Yes, yes. Back in like the Indians would use or whatever they would use to like kill big animals with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost as wide as my hand. It's big.
Now, Lee, I got a question for you. I just wanted to get your opinion on this. Do you think are we part of the prey? Like, do you think that we're an opportunity an opportunity for prey if we encounter one?
Oh, well, if you come across the wrong one, yeah.
Really?
Yes. There's been several reports about them getting people. You ever watched that Missing 411?
I haven't. No, I'm really behind on a lot of this stuff.
Where people just vanish in the woods. They just get gone for nothing.
Yeah, what? I mean, yeah, that does make sense. I mean, we hear about missing people a lot.
That's the funny
yeah,
thing too,
yeah.
because we were just talking about the Mammoth Cave. There's a lot of like disappearances around the neighboring like counties around Mammoth Cave, but everybody kind of chalks it up like it's a cave system. There's so many like areas that you could fall off, get lost.
Yeah.
So like everybody chalks it up to that, but there's been a decent amount of sightings in those areas.
Yeah, a lot of sightings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like you got to ask yourself like, do you want to believe that Sasquatch came out and took these people, or they just? I want to say, if there's a decent amount, it could be like
Right.
it could have happened, but
I mean, that's kind of the. I mean, yeah. I mean, they say there's man-eater bears.
Oh, yeah.
There's man-eater sharks. Is there a man-eater Sasquatch out there that we need to be worried about?
well, like
Yeah, I mean, I can't say for definite, but they call, like I said, they called Skookum the Mountain Devil because they said he was a cannibal. He would eat people. Now, there's been several reports that I've heard about. I haven't seen them, but I've heard about them. I've seen, like, I've read the files and stuff. about where, the Sasquatches actually were killed because they were trying to eat people and you attack them. But like I said, now with that little girl who got missing in Uwharrie, but from the what they call the wild man in the forest, he took her out of her house, and there were several other children that got missing too, and they believe that he's the one that got them too.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
now,
terrifying.
I don't believe all of them are like that, but if I do believe that there's a few bad ones out there.
Some bad blood.
So
yeah,
just like any kind of like back then like tribes, like Native American tribes, do you think that there's like factions of each other? Like they don't actually these communications that we might be hearing are actually like arguments like hey, stay over there, that you're coming into my area.
Different clans of them.
No kidding. Yeah, that's another thing that didn't really dawn on me. Yeah.
Now I don't know the guy personally, but there's a guy who's actually researched Uwharrie for freaking years. I mean probably 30 or 40 years. And he swears up and down there's like 3 sets of clans of them. You got the A, the B, and the C. The A is kind of like the Paddy look.
Yeah.
The B is more of like a kind of like the Neanderthal, the primate look. And then the third one, the C, is kind of like the Dogman.
Really?
Yes. Now, he believes up and down. He swears up and down. I've never met this guy, but he swears up and down that he has seen what looks like the Dogman. Looks like the Bigfoot with the werewolf head. He swears up and down. So he has seen that 3 times in Uwharrie.
That's the Dogman. I know that's a touchy subject when talking to Sasquatch enthusiasts, because sometimes you bring it up and they're willing to talk. Sometimes you bring it up though and they just shut you right down, like they don't want to even discuss the Dogman. But I find the Dogman really interesting. We're on the scout right now for to talk to someone here in Kentucky about the Dogman sightings down the land between the legs.
Oh yeah.
And I never really would have put it together that they might be related. I mean, I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm a newbie, so I'm just shooting blanks here. I don't know what's what on either side. I'm learning as I go.
That's the only way you can learn, man, because that's the way it was when I first got started. I didn't know jack. I really didn't, man. I was like a kid in the candy store. I just didn't know what piece I wanted. I didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
I've been checking out another YouTube channel lately. I brought it up earlier. The guy's called it's Homesteading Off Grid.
Oh yeah.
And
I know you're talking about.
I can't tell if he's legit or if he's just a really damn good entertainer.
He's well, he's not legit. I'll just put it like that.
Okay. Well, that settles that one then. Because I was
I've watched
watching
his videos and I know who you're talking about on YouTube.
Yeah.
No, it's as made up as a day is long. He's just looking for that 15 minutes of fame.
I get you. I got that feeling watching him, but there was a couple times when he's on there, it seemed like something startled him or something happened. But then I find another video where there was like a jump scare and it looked like a guy in a costume, and I just didn't know what to think of it when I saw it. And
what got me with him was when I had seen one of his videos when he swears up and down that that he had this axe and something else and these tools that got missing, and all of a sudden he found the cave and all of his tools were in there and they were placed so good and they were placed properly and they looked like they hadn't been used. And that right there to me is just like, come on, dude, really, seriously.
Yeah.
And then when I watched another video of him, and it's like, you can just tell it's just made up. Yeah.
Okay. I'll chalk that one off then.
Now there are some good ones out there, but some of them you can. It takes about 5 or 10 minutes. You can get the feel of it real quick.
I've been getting on that Thinker Thunker. You ever watch him? I like the way he dissects the evidence that he's presented with. I think it's a good approach. I mean,
it is.
It's a real good approach. We were listening to the Soundwave files earlier, and I even played one off of it on here on the podcast. Which, when we publish this, you'll be able to hear it too. It's incredible how he went through and dissected the sound waves and showed the distinct sound wave pattern of each of the screams. And you can't help but sit there and listen to it and watch it and go, man, there is something to this. There's something making these sounds.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, I've gotten audio out of Uwharrie, man. It's just Some of it, what's weird is I've gotten it several times. Like, okay, you can hear the coyotes set off, right? You hear that loud coyotes start yell, and then you go start hearing the coyotes go crazy.
Yeah, they join in.
Now, now I've got at least 3 different audios where you hear the coyotes going crazy, and then all of a sudden you'll hear what I call the big caveman yell. It's like a that,
and then they all
and
go silent.
man, they shut up just like that.
Yeah,
it shuts them up real quick. But you can tell it's a big barrel-chested yell.
Yeah,
we call it the caveman yell.
It takes something big and strong to be able to shut them up. For years, I raised a Malamute, big Malamute, and he was on the back porch, and across the street from us is a big patch of woods. It's actually interesting because across the street and down about 2 miles, I'd say, maybe give or take 2 miles, that's where the most recent Sasquatch sighting of this county happened about a year ago.
Really?
And there was coyotes over there howling and hooting and hollering, and then my big Malamute, he let out this big howl, and he had a real deep voice himself, and they all just shut up.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, man, that's interesting. He must feel like such a badass because he's literally telling a pack of coyotes to shut up. But I know it takes something that they perceive as bigger and stronger than them to get them to go quiet.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I mean it happens. It really does. And I mean we had a yell back when, let's see, I'd been doing it maybe close to a year.
Yeah.
Me and my son, and I've actually got the audio, still got it. We was down there, and it was, I don't know, maybe 11. It wasn't very late, and me and him were the only ones in the park. And at that time, like I said, I had just started out. I had a digital recorder, right, and I would sit it on top of my truck, and I was listening through headphones.
Yeah.
Well, he was sitting there listening to it. And I'm sitting there looking at him, and I saw him make this face. And like I said, it's probably around 11 o'clock at night. And he looked at me and he said, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "No." I said, "You got the headphones. I can't hear anything." I said, "What'd you hear?" And he said, "You don't hear that." And I said, "No. Again, you got the headphones. I can't hear anything." He said, "Hold on, listen." So he gave me the headphones, right? And what we heard first was it sounded like a little girl, right? And she was going, whoop, 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 just like that. But it sounded like a little girl, like a little child. And I looked at him, I said, "Is that what you heard?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "That's it, Dad. That's exactly what I heard." So we get out of the truck, right? And we're standing there, and we start walking around the park. And like I said, I still got the audio. Dude, I kid you not. It was the loudest and biggest yell I have ever in my life heard. It come off that mountain ridge, and it hit you in the chest. It felt like you're standing in front of a speaker, and the bass hit you.
Okay, and a big set of lungs sent that howl.
Oh, dude, it was unreal, man. I mean, it literally, it like somebody punched you. It was so loud.
I've got a good feeling of what of how you felt. Yeah, the one, like, I mean, I'm not even kidding. The one single event that I can say that might be connected to this whole topic was that scream that me and my one friend heard. And what's interesting is that I've even reached out to talk to him about it, and he doesn't. I don't even think he wants to talk about it anymore. I don't think he took the same path as me. I think he would rather just say, "You know what, I'm good with not knowing. I'm going to move on with my life." But for me, it just kind of ate at me, for years. I wanted to know what that sound was because I'd never heard anything like it. It was so close that, to this day, I can still hear it. It left a lasting impression on me that I've never been able to quite put my finger on, like what the hell was there, and all of our animals, we had a bunch of animals living there, and we had dogs, and my mom had some cats, and she had a rooster, and she had a bunch of ducks, and even horses. And it was amazing how silent everything went. I mean, you know how it is on a farm. It's noisy. Everything's going, We have a goose that never shuts up.
Oh, yeah.
But that one night, everything went quiet when that scream happened. And I'll never forget that. And the immediate feeling of, it was literally the antithesis of, oh, shit.
Yeah.
What the hell was that? I gotta get out of here.
Oh yeah.
It was crazy.
It gives you that fight or flight syndrome.
Exactly. And that's fight or flight is I think it can be a traumatizing feeling to go through your first time.
Oh yeah. That was, like I said, that night it come up on me and Sam when it walked up on us that night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I mean, I have never in my life had my heart beat so fast it felt like it was gonna break my ribs. It was such an adrenaline because one, it was right up on me, and two, I didn't have a weapon on me. And Sam, he was scared to death.
Yeah.
Now Sam has never come back since. It scared him so bad he will not come back.
He won't come back.
But he will not come back. He was sitting there, and I'm not lying. He sat there. He sharpened a stick that looked like a toothpick, right? And he was sitting there quivering right with that thing right next to my head. And I said, "Look, dude, you don't flip out on me because I was scared
You're
to
gonna
jab
have to
that thing
calm
in my
down
head."
there, Sam.
Yeah, because when that thing come up on us, I mean, he literally slid over to. He was like knee to kneecap with me.
Oh man.
He was scared, man. I don't lie to you. That boy was scared.
I can't blame him, to be honest with you. That night we heard that scream, I can admit I'm not so proud that I can't admit that it scared the holy shit out of me. And I'm a big boy, you know. I'm 6'2". I've always been a big guy, you know. And my buddy that was with me, you know, he's a big guy, and we never had to worry about nothing walking around. You know what I mean? We're big dudes. We were confident. And that night we were not big dudes at all. We were kids, and we were freaked out, you know. And it gets to you. I mean, it got me.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's like down there in Uwharrie too. You know, they call it haunted Uwharrie because you know you'll see some weird lights down there once in a while too. It's like some nights you'll see what looks like somebody's holding a lantern. You'll see it looks like it's walking through the forest. You'll see a light glowing.
Yeah.
You'll see like balls of light. Just literally, you'll see like a ball of light that's like the size of a baseball. I've seen this numerous times. It'll light up, and you can see like the little light trail behind it, like it's floating in the air, and then it just disappears. That's nothing. You see that down there all the time. But the weirdest thing that we've had happen is me and my wife was down there. I think it was either this year or last year. We were sitting in one spot, right?
Yeah.
And I had the flare out, had the camcorder out, and this, that, and the other. And we were sitting in the back of my vehicle, just sitting there talking. Well, all of a sudden, a beam of light, and this is no lie, a beam of light came down at a 45-degree angle. It's like somebody just lit a spotlight, just like, and it was gone. It came on and went right back off. It lit the ground, it lit the entire forest up, and right after it did that, my batteries and everything were dead, gone.
No kidding.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Never in my life have I seen that. But you know, like you've seen these, like when they're doing an event somewhere and they got these big strobe lights, these big spotlights that they go flashing back and forth.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like, but at a 45-degree angle, and it just like came on and went right back off as quick as you can blink, and it drained everything.
No shit.
Yes, sir.
It's crazy. I mean, Tyler was just nodding to me over here, saying that we've heard stories here in Kentucky of something really similar to that. You know,
Really.
and it's wild. You know, no matter where you go, the stories they line up. They're similar. You know, these things. There's something happening out there. I don't know what.
Oh, yeah.
But it's definitely happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's been UFO sightings down in Uwharrie. I mean, I've seen all kind of strange lights in the skies. I mean, it's weird down there, man. It's just got a vibe to it. It just ain't Bigfoot.
I always wonder if you know you hear about these areas where multiple different types of sightings are happening, whether it's Sasquatch or even UFO or the Dog Man.
Yeah.
Nearby us is the Mothman.
Oh yeah.
And I always wonder if, you know, since we have a lot of people who've experienced things, I always wonder if it kind of wakes them up a little bit to where they're noticing other things more. You know, like
it's very possible.
you know,
It really is.
I think I might have saw a UFO the other night, you know, and then something else happens and you're like, well, that was weird. And then maybe it starts to kind of, you know, like the domino effect. It starts to knock down more and more dominoes where you're starting to see things that you didn't really pay attention more. Maybe our lives are too fast now.
Yeah.
That we're missing this stuff, you know.
It opens your eyes up more.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of go back to, like, since you just said that you had this, like, just recently you had, like, the biggest, like the first biggest sighting, the closest you've ever been to it. Mm-hmm. It's like, do you feel any compelled to, like not do this anymore? Like, are you
Oh,
just,
no.
oh, dude, this is just the beginning. You want that, you want to see it like up and close and personal.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to see it up close and personal. I just want to see just how jacked up that face really is.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
I do, man.
Well,
I mean,
another.
'cause-
Well, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying that it's, to me. I mean, now there's a guy. I'm not going to call his name, but I've been doing some research on him too. Not as much here lately, but he literally, and this is the God's honest truth, he literally has a family of these creatures living in his backyard. And I've been doing research over him for several months now. And I mean, it's
Wow.
nothing, dude. I mean, you walk in his backyard and there's footprints everywhere. I've seen the creature at his place, no lie, along with him at least 3 different times.
No kidding.
Now that flare video that I sent you, that like it just loops for 8 seconds, that's where it came from.
Okay.
Where you can see that big creature walking, that's in his backyard, going from his land out in the forest.
Okay. Now, I hadn't had a chance to send that one to Tyler yet, but it literally shows a FLIR image. It's a loop, and it shows what looks to me a big, wide-bodied.
It is.
I mean, it looks to me it looks a lot bigger than what you're typically seeing when you search for this.
It's thick. It's a big one.
Yeah, it looks
Looks like
big.
he should be playing linebacker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a big old boy. He's a fridge.
Yeah,
You know what I
we went up there, we did one up there and done the measurement after that a couple of days later, and from where he walks out to where the edge of the head was,
Yeah.
he's at least 8 foot, every bit of it, and his shoulders like 4 foot wide. He's big. That's a big one.
That is.
That's a big boy.
Lee, you know what? There was one I saw the other day. Lee, I was so excited to bring this one up to you. I wanted to get your take on it. A video came up on my feed, and I'm embarrassed to say that I've actually lost it. I will find it again, and I'll forward it over to you unless you've already seen it. But the creature, a lot of people are saying it's a Sasquatch. The only difference between this one that I've seen with all of the others that I've heard about is, if this is a Sasquatch, this one's 13 to 14 foot tall.
Really?
It is enormous. And I watched an artist, he actually took the picture and he increased all the contrast where he could get an outline of its body, and he actually started to draw on it and kind of show you, the proportions of it.
Yeah.
He goes to the location and measures the branches that it was sitting in. It's sitting in a tree with its legs bent. And when he measured the branches, it was like 13 foot from one branch to another.
Oh my God.
And this
really?
thing was, it had its legs bent. So he even suspected it may be bigger than that. Have you ever even heard of anything that size?
No, I really haven't.
I mean, the videos, it's crazy. I mean, that one gave me chills when I watched it, because I'm like, okay, I mean, I've heard of the Sasquatch being 7, 8 foot, 9 foot tall, even,
Yeah.
and I've seen that, in researching, but one that touches the 15-foot mark, I mean, come
Yeah.
on, we're getting
Yeah.
into giant territory there.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can't help but wonder, how does a 15-foot anything hide?
Stay hid.
Yeah.
Stay hid.
And it's just up in a tree watching these people. And the reason it got me was because it was a mother and her 2 little girls.
Yeah.
And the little girl saw it first. And the first thing she said was, she's like, "What is that?" And then the mom's like, "Okay, let's start walking. Let's start coming back. Let's go." And one of the younger daughter actually says, "I want to go home. I want to go home right now." And you can see the tree, and you can see clearly this big, huge black mass in this tree. And then when he goes back and he measures it to see the scale of this thing, I couldn't help but be startled by that. That not only is this possibly a Sasquatch, but this might be this might be Bigfootzilla out there. The great King Alpha or something. I don't know.
The daddy of all of them.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen that one. If I can find it, I'll send it to you. But
Now, I haven't seen that one yet. You can send it to me, yeah.
wow,
The biggest one that we've got in Uwharrie is, the biggest one on record is the one they call Big Bull, and he's around 9 foot.
okay. Big
Yeah,
bull.
that's the biggest one's ever been down here.
I like everybody always gives the big ones the coolest names.
Yeah.
You know, I seen where
I still think that the old man of the forest, that was
that's
an awesome,
probably that's the
an
best
awesome
name. That's the one that
Well,
hooked me right away. I was
I'll let you in
in.
on a little secret. You know, I talked about the book that I'm writing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the book. It's a scary book. It really is. It's not for the faint of heart. I'll tell you that now.
Okay.
And the last story is about the old man of the forest. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay.
But it's brutal.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So is
if
this?
you like horror movies, yeah, you'll love it.
Are we allowed to talk about the book at all, or?
Yeah, you can talk about the book if you want to.
What's,
yeah, we got, like I said, because we have a website, Woods Walker Products.
Okay.
We got coffee coming. We got our Woods Walker coffee. Call it
Awesome.
Moowalk Java. It comes in January, and the book will be in January too. And
Awesome.
I'm actually creating a stuffed animal of one of the characters from the book. We're working on that too.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I'll get all them links from you, man, and when we publish this, I'll put it all out there for you, and that's awesome, man. I can't wait to read the book.
Yeah, it's called Bigfoot Campfire Stories. I did one a while back, but I did it like just talking and doing the sounds with a woman who was helping me, and people loved it. So, and then people kept saying, "Wants to do a book." So we decided to write a book, and it's 3 stories. So, but the very last story, the first story, there's only one story in there. It's about Bigfoot. The other 2 is about 2 other things. But the last story is about the old man of the forest who lives up on the mountain ridge.
Okay.
And I just put it like this: he's a cannibal. I just put it like that.
Oh man.
It's brutal.
They'll be turning that into a Netflix series before you know it.
Hey, I wish they would.
That'd be awesome.
Netflix series they won't.
Heck
I wish
yeah.
it'd be a movie. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's good. I hadn't wrote it yet, but I can already see it in my head.
Yeah.
So I've already wrote the other one. I'm working on the other one now. So, but yeah, it's gonna be good. If you like scary stories, you'll enjoy it. I promise you.
Absolutely, I love it. Love everything about it. So have you gotten a lot of foot castings?
I've got let's see, 1, 2. I've got 3.
No kidding, 3.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I've been checking those out a lot, getting online and taking a look at the all the different ones that people put out and have casted themselves and shown. And what's it like to walk up on a footprint like that? I mean, how's that? I mean, that's got to be exhilarating.
It is. I mean, some are better than others.
Yeah.
The thing about it is you got to look forever to find one. I mean, it's hard. It really is hard to come across a track. And most of the time when you do, it's by accident. Now, like the other guy that I've been researching his property, he's got a gold mine, man. I mean, he's literally, I mean, you walk in his backyard and there's tracks everywhere. I'm talking the entire foot, the toes, everywhere. And he's got probably 6 or 7 tracks out there right now. He's casted easy.
No kidding.
But he's got a gold mine there, dude. But like I said, in Uwharrie, I found some, I've casted some, but I don't know. It's like the ones that I get excited about the most is when I can literally see the entire foot and the toes. That's the ones that I like. So I mean, some of them you can tell because you just see the imprint on the ground, and that's great. But when you start finding toes in the foot, that's the ones I like the best.
That's the gold right there, huh?
Yeah, because I mean, like today when we found that one today, and I found that imprint in the grass. I've had people say, "Well, why didn't you cast?" Well, that's just a tire track where somebody turned around. No, that ain't a tire track. I didn't want the car come up a hill and then go up an embankment.
Yeah, I've never seen a tire track that looked like that before.
No, this one guy, he tried to him as a tire track, and then somebody else said, "Why didn't you cast it?" I'm like, "Well, it's just flat and there's no toes. There's nothing to it. You just cast it. I cast the grass. If you can just cast grass,
Yeah.
Today's lesson, we're going to cast some grass.
Yeah. I seen the one video you said you found some teeth.
Yep.
What's now? I mean,
that was down near that creek. That was down at the Coggins mine where the creek is. We found some teeth and we found a shoe. Now, here's the thing about that shoe. We've looked up that shoe as much as we could, and that shoe's probably dates back in the 50s and 60s. That's an old shoe.
Really?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's not like a clogging. It's something else, but the way we've looked it up, and I even had somebody else just as soon as they said that thing's back in the 70s, it's not earlier. And I've looked up as much as I could, so it's dating between the 50s, 60s, and 70s, probably between 60 and 70 more than anything. But the fact that it was in that creek bed, at the edge of the creek, and the top of the shoe's been ripped completely off, and there's a hole in the back and there's a hole in the center. To find a shoe like that is just, to me, it's like, wow, because I wasn't expecting to find that.
Yeah, it's kind of out of place. I mean, out in the middle of nowhere.
That's right, because we were just down there walking. You know, like I said, we was looking around, and I was telling a story where a hunter had actually seen the old man of the forest, the gray and white, the gray and silver.
Yeah.
He was at that embankment, splashing water up, and he saw him take off. And right there is where we found the teeth. And no sooner than that, my wife is the one who actually found the shoe. I was standing there talking about the teeth, and she said, like, "Hey, look at this." And I said, "What?" She said, "There's a shoe in the water." So I went and looked at it and got out, and I'm like, "Okay, there's a shoe in the water." So we got looking at it, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, this is an old shoe." Now, see, to me, stuff like that's just crazy. I love stuff like that.
So the biggest mystery that I'm hearing here that I have to ask, out of all this stuff, how'd you get the wife to go along?
How'd I get the wife to go along?
How'd you talk her into it? I don't think I could talk my wife into going Bigfoot, researching with me.
A bottle of wine.
Okay.
She's sitting there beside me. She's laughing. It's like, "Hey, you want to go Bigfoot? Is there a bottle of wine involved?" "Yes," and I'll go.
Yeah, I don't know if a bottle of wine would work with my wife. I mean, she's got a kind of a let well enough alone, mentality when it comes to this sort of thing. So I just don't know if I could convince her.
Yeah. No, I mean, she just more or less goes with me. I mean, she just kind of helps me out sometimes. Now, for like I said, the longest time, me and my son done it. And then my son quit doing it because he got interested in girls. So, "Hey, Dad, forget about you."
That's another mystery that I don't think.
So then I started doing it with another guy named Ken, and I've done it with him and his son for a while. Then I've done it with two guys named Bob and Dwight, and they just kind of like play it out. So if I ain't doing it by myself, I'm doing it with my wife or this other gentleman that I met. I do it in his backyard. Okay. And then another guy named Kevin. But a lot of it, if I'm not with my wife doing it, I do it by myself. I'll do it solo.
Right on. That's awesome, man. I'm honestly, I'm glad to know that you're out there going where the rest of us are scared to go.
Oh yeah. Oh,
it's not that bad once you get. I mean, and I ain't gonna lie to you. I've had some moments that were nerve wracking. Yeah, trust me. That you just felt like you didn't belong and something was watching you and you needed to leave like now. Yeah, I've had those moments.
Oh yeah. Oh, I had a question. You were talking about casting footprints and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I had one. Are the footprints different from the ones that you guys were saying that has the difference in their legs? Like they're like kicked back. Like, are the footprints are different between these different ones, or
I think the first one, right? The one with the shoulder.
Yeah, that one. Or are they like the footprints kind of the same? Like,
no, they vary. They're you got different sizes, different width.
Mm-hmm.
You might have one that's got 5 toes, and you might have one that's got 4 toes. I've seen prints where it looks like the big toes jacked up and like been broken, sticking straight out to the side. I've seen them like that. I mean, they're all different. Yeah, no, they don't all look the same.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, if he's walking around barefoot, you're
gonna stub your toe sometime.
Something's gonna happen. I can't walk from here to the bathroom without stubbing my toe on something. So.
Oh, dude, I broke my toe in my house. Every one of my toes, big toes, little toes.
Yes.
I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
And you imagine if I was out in the woods walking around, I probably wouldn't have feet left. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, these things. I think that you kind of just touched on a subject that we've never really talked about. Was this is a creature that's out there, I mean, for more or less. I mean, it's more or less naked. I mean, it's in its own fur. Yep. It's walking around. It has no protective gear whatsoever. It's got whatever evolution has taken it to.
Yep.
I think, I mean, it's going to stub its toe at some point. It's going to, maybe some of the screams we're hearing, maybe we're hearing an injury, I don't know.
That's kind of like what I'm like, because I swear I let out a big roar when I, especially my pinky toe. That hurts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, you imagine these things are out there walking around barefoot their whole life. The bottom of their face has got to be hard as a darn rock.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they can step on thorn bushes and everything else and ain't nothing to it to them.
Man, it doesn't bother them. Years and years of callus.
Yeah, well, it's like at night, like I told you when me and Sam was out there at night. That sound, dude, I'm not lying to you. The sound of something that weighed probably, I don't know, maybe 400 or 500 pounds, heavy, with a rubber kind of pad foot, when it hit that gravel and it made that crunch.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not lying to you. I could not get that sound out of my head for almost 3 weeks. That scared me more than the creature did. Just was that sound.
I think that's interesting too, because being around horses and cattle, even when a horse walks around you, it's not really that big of a, you know what I mean? It's not that big of a thing. They're very graceful for being how heavy they are. And some of these horses are, what, 1,000 pounds or more. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I remember some on the farm. Some of our biggest horses could walk right up to you. They could sneak up on you. So it's amazing that this thing, you're literally feeling it that when this thing's walking.
Oh yeah.
I always wondered if maybe they're walking harder on purpose, to intimidate, to kind of like, I'm here, stay away from me.
Well, see, I've heard that too. That when they start stomping their feet is when they're trying to show their aggression.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I've never had one stomp his feet around me like that, but I've heard that. But I have heard what sounded like a horse took off running in the woods. I mean, it's just, you could hear it. It was heavy, just just running.
Yeah. So I think that would be the one that would probably get me if I heard it, especially if it was coming towards me, breaking branches and stomping, and here it comes, and I'd probably be like, okay, here we go.
Well, I'm telling you right now, dude, I mean, the night that come up on me and Sam, that's the truth. It literally sounded like King Kong coming through the forest. I mean, it was breaking branches, and I'm talking huge branches, man.
Okay.
Snapping them left and right. And the closer it got, the louder. It sounded like it was tearing the trees apart. And that's the truth.
It's wild. I mean, I went back, and I went back and I searched Native American cultures. I even went into European cultures, the Vikings cultures, Asian cultures. You know what I mean? All of these cultures have a history of this same creature.
Oh yeah.
And they all kind of tell the same thing. This is a forest being. It's a man-like, whatever it is, and they all describe it. There's similarities, there's little differences here, and it's just amazing to me how many cultures have ancient stories about this. Even Old Testament stuff. If you go in and you start researching, like say the Nephilim, they talk about these, what they described as a child that was born of an angel and a man. Mm-hmm. And it was a giant. It was man-like, but it was a giant. It was stronger than a man, and whatever, however it's described, and you can't help but wonder, like, was someone doing their best to describe this very same creature even then?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I know it also talks in the Bible too. I can't remember where it's at, about talking about the giants that were covered in hair that lived in the forest. I mean, really.
Yeah. It's amazing that the other day I was talking to Tyler about this very thing, and a man on a podcast had said something, and it just was so profound. It just stuck out to me so much. He said, there's millions of sightings. There's every state has hundreds of thousands of sightings going back 10, 15 years. And he goes, all it takes is one sighting to be true.
Yep.
He's like, but there's so many, and what I noticed personally, I have kind of a knack for picking out patterns and things.
Yeah.
And the pattern that hit me was that not only do the sightings change with seasons, the behavior described in those sightings changes also, depending on location. If it's near water, it tends to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
During the summer months, it seems like the activity it doesn't happen in the day quite as much. It seems like it happens at night more when the air is cooler, maybe.
That's it.
During the winter time, it seems like it's fair game.
Yep. When it's cooler weather, they move around more.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I've noticed. This might be a stretch, but I've noticed that the pattern seems to be from southeast to northwest. Mm-hmm. Most of the sightings that I've been researching that really stuck out to me, not all of them, I noticed that when I look at a map and they describe where it was at, and then I find another sighting nearby, it seems like it has a almost perfect, starting at southeast and moving northwest.
Okay.
And I kept thinking that well, maybe there's a migrational pattern. You
Yep.
know, maybe they're just catching part of it. You know, maybe there's more to it.
Yep.
But it was enough to stand out to me that maybe there's an intelligent or maybe even instinctual behavior that's happening.
Or
in
if
that
it's like
country.
tribes and they just learned it down through like the lines, like this is what my parents did basically, and they just kept doing it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's like they just kind of just pass it on generation to generation. It's like, hey, this is the way we did it. This is the way you're going to do it.
Mhm.
And you know what's weird about something though too, is talking about the way you think their pattern is.
Yeah.
I talked to a gentleman. It's been, I don't know, maybe 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was telling me, because he does research in Uwharrie too, but not like me. He only does there once in a while. I'm down there, all the time.
Yeah.
He showed me a thing, and he told me, he said, "Now, where did you have your sightings?" And I talked about him,
Yeah.
and I said, "I had mine here, had another one over here, then we had one back here, and this, that, and the other." He said, "Well, let me show you something." He said, "This is where I had my sightings," and he pinpointed on a map. Okay. He said, "Now tell me where you had yours." So I showed him like where one sighting was here, one sighting was here, one sighting was here, another one was here, and he done the exact same thing. And this was weird right here. He took an arrow, he took a marker, right? He went from pattern to pattern, and it was one big triangle.
No kidding.
No, it's like you see one here, 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 and right back up, and his was the exact same way, dude.
Wow.
So what they're doing is like they go so far, like mileage wise, they only go so far from one forest to the next. They cut back and they come back, and it is, I swear to you, dude, it's exactly like a freaking triangle.
Okay, so they got
That's like their range right there as far as they go.
Okay. So
Yes.
you don't think they're crossing like state lines, things like that? Or is it too
I believe
far?
some of them do, but I believe the ones that are like crossing the state lines, who are like, I believe those are the ones who are just like coming and going. They're constantly just moving. They don't hang around the area. But then you got clans of them who, like in my area in Uwharrie, who stay. They stay in certain areas. Like, I mean, it's been happening for years, and that's how I know they're staying in the same areas, because I can go to this one area in Uwharrie, and it's just like clockwork. They're there. They
Wow.
never leave. Now, they do follow the deers. Don't get me wrong. They will
Yeah.
follow deers, but they come back and they stay in the same darn area all the time.
Maybe it's just the area works for them. Maybe they're just
Yeah. Well, it's heavily deer. We got deers down there like crazy,
yeah.
and we got creeks. We got the big lakes, so it's very popular for them. I mean, it's like wild eats.
No kidding. So you
Yeah,
follow the
right.
deer, you probably
That's
find
right.
the Sasquatch shortly behind them.
That's right. And it's
Very-
weird because it's weird because sometimes you'll see, like, there was an encounter I heard about. It's been several years ago, where the guy said, he was a hunter, right? He was looking through a scope, and said he saw some deers come across, right? He said, but when the deers got there, he said 2 or 3 of them kept raising their head and looking back, He said, so something was following them. So they would get squeamish and they'd take off. He said he'd watch them through the scope, they'd stop, and they kept looking back, and they finally took off. He said, well, about 5 or 6 minutes later, he said, you can believe me or not. He said, I really don't care. He said, here come this big upright looking thing. He didn't describe it as a Bigfoot. He said, but here come this big upright looking thing, about 7 foot tall, covered in fur. And he said it was following the deer.
Wow. Yeah, that would be that'd be a sight, man. I gotta tell you, that'd be something to see. Part of me hopes that I get that lucky one day to see it, but part of me is also like, well, if I don't ever get to see that, I'll manage.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'll manage.
That was like this morning. The last thing I thought this morning that I was going to see was something like that.
Yeah.
And down there at Low Water Bridge for the last couple of days now, it's been underwater. So when I went this morning, because yesterday I was out there, I left my digital recorder, the bridge was underwater. So I thought, well, this morning, and of course this morning it wasn't underwater when I went and looked, but I thought it was still underwater. So I turned and went on the other side of the road, went the other direction. And if I hadn't have went that way, I would have never seen that this morning.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's wild, man. I tell you, I could see it in your video when I watched it. I mean, you could tell that you're clearly amped up. You could
I was
you could
jacked.
see it. You could see it in your body language. I've watched your videos, and for the most part, when I watch you, you're very, very calm. You're just kind of like, here's what's going on. I'm going to tell you right now. It's very straightforward. like I said earlier, you talk to me like I'm a human being. It's awesome. But on this one video, I had to admit, when I watched it, you told me, like, dude, you got to check this one out. I checked it out, and I'm like, man, he's amped. Like, he saw something. I mean, you could see it, man. You kind of like, it looked like you had a little trouble standing still on it. You're like, okay, check this out, you know? And I'm like, man, I totally understand that feeling. Like, he saw something, man. He wants you to see it, you know, like, see, look what happened here, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I was like that for several hours. You need to ask my wife. It was like a few hours after that. I kept telling her, I cannot believe what I saw this morning. I just cannot believe what that happened. I mean, it was like, I could see it clear as a bell in my head, but I could not grasp my mind about it. Like, oh my God, that's what I saw this morning. And I wasn't even looking for that.
No kidding.
I was just going back to get my recorder. Bam, that happened.
All right. Well, Lee, you know what, man? We've only got so much time that we can upload at a time, so I'm gonna have to cut this one off. But I got one more question I'm dying to ask you, and I know Tyler has another question. If you don't mind, if you're okay with it, my question is, it's kind of a silly question, but do you think there's any chance that there's a Sasquatch out there who's studying Lee? Is there one of them that knows that you come around and he's watching you and he's learning about you? Do you think that's even possible?
Yeah, I know it's possible. I know for a fact.
So there's probably, wherever they live, they've got their own YouTube, and there's one of them down there, and he's got footage of you.
Yeah.
And nobody believes him.
No, nobody believes in it. No. But there's certain things that I've done over the years that, like, when I go into an area, there's things that I do. It just kind of lets them know who I am. You know, I put it like that.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? It's like you got to gain trust. I put it like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a dog. You just got to gain its trust. And like I said, this don't happen overnight. I'm telling you right now. And I believe, truthfully, and I'll tell you something else too. I believe they're colorblind. I really do.
Really?
Because of certain things that I've done over the years when I first started doing this. Like, let's say I could take like a candy bar that had a red wrapper, it would take it. But if I took a candy bar that had a yellow wrapper, he wouldn't take it. And I could put the same candy bar, because I've done this several times, put the same candy bar in the same bowl, and he always took the one that was wrapped in red. So I think they're colorblind.
Really? Do you think the red just stands out more? Or?
Yep. Yeah, and like I said, I had an old Dodge Ram that I used to drive for years, and every time I go in the area, I took that Dodge Ram. And this is the truth, with me being in that area within 45 minutes, they would already start coming in, because they'd let you know when they were coming.
No kidding.
Yes, sir. And like I said, I believe they gain trust. Yes.
Oh, cool. Well, that kind of actually helps me with my question I wanted to ask. Is that if you actually get like really trustful with these creatures, are you gonna really, like, I know you like upload your videos and stuff of that nature, but are you really gonna like disclose any information? I'm just, the one thing that I hate the most, I want, if they're real, I want people to know, but I hate the ones that actually would probably, this is a new species, I gotta have it on my wall.
Oh no.
That's what kills me the most about the whole thing, is that it's like, come on, man, like, people are looking for these just to, like, because we're fascinated by it, but a lot of people's like, oh, just another thing on my wall. I'm not nothing against hunting, but I'm just like, that's just something that's been on my mind. Like, what would be the purpose of hunting them?
Yeah, I mean, don't get wrong. There's people out there who would do it in a heartbeat. Trust me. I know. I know several of them, but no, we're not out to do that.
Okay.
It's good to know that you're on that side, man.
Yeah.
Well, Lee, thank you so much for joining us on this, man. And like I said,
appreciate it, man.
We're just getting started, and we would love to have you back, touch base with you, maybe sometime if you're willing, and maybe catch up with you and see what, if anything new's happened. And the channel is Bigfoot Tracking the Uwari Legend.
Yes, sir.
For anybody out there who might listen to this, check it out. Subscribe to Lee. He's awesome. He He'll treat you good, and you'll learn a lot. I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Lee, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thanks.
And good luck out there, man.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. And I'll let you know when we, at the end of the month, when we get our coffee and when the book's ready.
Oh,
I'll let
yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. The
Yeah,
book is called, I'm sorry, tell me one more time.
No, the book it'll be called Bigfoot Campfire Stories.
Bigfoot Campfire Stories, and you got a website.
Yes, it's called Woods Walker Products.
Woods Walker Products, okay.
Yep.
And I'll get all those links on
our
this.
T-shirts. We have T-shirts on that I create Bigfoot T-shirts. We have walking sticks, tree knockers, tumblers. We'll have our coffee. That's where the book will be. Everything.
Well, I'm definitely going to pick up some of that coffee because I have to know.
Okay.
I gotta
It's
know.
called Muwak. It's called Muwak Java.
All right. Well, Lee, thank you so much again, man, and keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing a hell of a job, and
I appreciate it.
I'm glad to know you're out
Be
there.
on here.
hell yeah, man. We're honored to have you.
I appreciate it, Dick.
All right, buddy. You take it easy.
Yes, sir. You too, bud.
All right, man. Dude, Lee.
That was,
Lee is awesome.
yeah. I love his like you were saying, his energy, like, especially, I really believe that his demeanor was probably, like, a lot more energy, like
Oh, yeah,
like
he's in it.
rambunctious, yeah, because
He is in it.
well, especially because you just said that he just uploaded that one video and he was not expecting seeing
Yeah.
anything that day.
It got me because he's like, oh my god,
Ah!
look what happened here, check this out. And he doesn't beat around the bush at all about it. He takes you, like, grabs the camera, look at this, look right here, that's a footprint, look at that, and look up here. And he hands the camera off and he's trying to jump the distance and he can't. And you can't not. I've never even met the guy face to face, and I just think he's awesome. I want to drink his coffee. I
want to try the coffee.
I hope we're doing a podcast and we're drinking Lee's coffee.
Lee's coffee.
While
What did he say it was? Something.
Woodwalker.
Well, no, that's Woodwalker Products.
Woodwalker Products.
I couldn't he said the brand, like the type of coffee it was, like his, how, like,
You know what he told me? Let me know. You know what? I'm gonna
said
go to
that-
the website.
let's go. Yeah, go to the website.
Woodwalker Products. Let's check it out. Well, I'm trying to compute here.
What? No, but his theory on them digging tunnels. They live underground. Now that's crazy. I've never heard that.
I never heard that. I never would have thought. It just wouldn't have dawned on me, to be honest
It
with
really
you.
wouldn't either. But, like, how? Like, be perfectly honest. How could they actually like hide so fast? Sometimes, like, you just wouldn't expect it.
I don't know. Could the thing get underground that fast? I guess it could. Most of the time when you hear about the stories, even when somebody thinks they caught one on camera,
They're like gone, like just.
that's the one thing that keeps getting me too, is when I think about it, is imagine you're standing out there, right? You're standing out there, minding your own business, doing whatever it is. Maybe you're drinking your Woodwalker coffee.
Yeah.
You're just enjoying the outdoors, and you look over, and here's a 7-8 foot tall, Sasquatch staring at you.
I love the plug though. That was good.
I think I'm doing it for Lee, and
I don't mean to call you out, but that was a good plug.
you're sitting there, and you look over, and there's a Sasquatch, and maybe he's doing his thing. Maybe he's hunting deer, like Lee was saying.
Maybe he's having some
I don't know.
coffee.
I'm having major problems. I was trying to bring up the website, and it's just not happening. But I'll have to get the links from him. Anyway, so imagine the point, like, being in the situation. Everybody always takes that one. They take that one side of it. They go, "Well, why didn't you grab your camera and film it?"
Yeah.
Okay.
I was scared shitless.
I was scared shitless, for one thing. And the other thing is, dude, you have to have nerves of goddamn steel.
Yeah,
to be
okay.
able to be like, that's a Sasquatch. Let me grab my phone real quick, and I'm going to record him. I'm not worried about him beating the shit out of me in the
Yeah.
least. Hold on, I'm getting a message here. Okay, you know, I'll text her back later. Okay, there's my camera. And you hold it perfectly still while this Sasquatch is staring at you like, really? I just don't think.
I feel like the people that do that,
Yeah.
we don't hear from again.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like
The
the
people
ones
with the best pictures
Just-
are probably gone.
they're dead. It's not like it's like a hoax or anything, and somebody's trying to cover it up. It's because the Sasquatch beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, some guy out there who does have nerves of steel, and he grabs his phone and he starts taking this just beautiful shot,
Cinematic shot.
cinematic shot of the Sasquatch.
Painting.
And the Sasquatch decides that, you know, I'm not all about this. I don't like paparazzi at all. I'm
Yeah.
taking you out.
You didn't get my right side.
I don't know. But in all honesty, though, if you think about it, everybody says the same thing. Well, why is the pictures blurry? Why are the whatever the film? Why is it? Why you can never see the Sasquatch very good in it? I can't help but wonder, how the hell would you get a good picture without putting yourself in possible danger? You know, and the people who grab their camera real quick and they try to film, they're probably shaking like a leaf. It's not standing still, it's moving.
Has anybody seen the Blair Witch Project?
Yeah.
That,
I mean, it's
that
just
movie
not
sucked.
happening.
Like, it was shaky cam all over.
It's
You
just not
barely saw
happening.
anything.
All right, well, it's time to address you, listener. I hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. Check out Lee's stuff. All the links will be there. Bigfoot Tracking the Uwari Legend is the name of his channel. Check it out. You'll love what you see there. Subscribe to him. Buy his coffee. Check out his book when it comes
buying his
out.
coffee.
I'm getting his book. I'm going to get his book. And I can't wait.
I might pick up a t-shirt.
I think I might have to have a t-shirt too, to be quite honest with you. But Lee's a good guy. He was kind enough to join us here on an unknown podcast to talk Sasquatch with us and educate us, and I really appreciated him being there. But now it's your turn, listener. You know, you have to decide what you want to believe. You know, what do you believe? What don't you believe? Do you have anything you want to add to this? Is there stuff we missed? Let us know. Send us an email. Our email is encounters@kyxfiles.com. You send it to us, we'll read it. As long as you're not pulling our leg, we'll get you on here so you can tell us your story.
Oh, yeah, and it doesn't have to be just a Sasquatch thing.
No, it can be anything.
Anything. Just tell anything.
Out of the ordinary. Just let us know. We're interested. This isn't a Sasquatch exclusive channel. This is just one thing we wanted to try. So yeah, with that being said, put some thought in it. Let us know what you think. Is there an unknown primate walking around in Kentucky or North Carolina or any of the states? Do you believe it's there? Have you seen it? Let us know. And sleep good tonight. There's probably nothing looking in your window.